So 2017, we had an interesting year. We'll cover off what happened in the industry and what happened for ourselves as in our space. We'll look at some of the business stats in terms of what that represents in dollar terms. We'll also look at 2018, importantly. Some of the key themes that we're focusing on is the regulatory landscape, which continues to dominate headlines. We'll look at business growth, and importantly, we'll look at education and what we can do to help you succeed in your particular businesses. So 2017, a big period of change. We are unquestionably in an era of unprecedented change in our industry. There is an enormous amount taking place, and you heard in the video from a couple of our brokers that change is opportunity, and we're really pleased to see more of the people that we're working with in our industry partners, our lenders, and importantly our brokerages who are taking advantage of that change and adapting. First movers have first advantage, so we would encourage all of you to work with us, and we'll help you where we can to help you get ahead of the curve. We know that regulators are putting more pressure on our lender partners. That ultimately flows down to you and the way that impacts the service you provide to your clients. So there are changes taking place across the board, and whilst we had many decisions last year, we'll see some of those manifest itself operationally over the course of this year and next. One of those changes was the industry funding model. You would all be aware this was a result of Treasury giving a directive to ASIC to recover the costs of supervising our industry. We also saw the establishment of the Combined Industry Forum. The forum was established in response to the ASIC REM review, which was about 12 months ago now. And what's really positive about this forum, and being the combined industry, is comprised of a number of industry bodies from consumer groups, aggregators, lenders, and the positive out of this is that we actually get a chance here to shape and influence the outcomes and policies that will determine the way that we act and behave in the industry. The reason why this is such a good move was that I actually came from the life insurance space in TAL prior to Connective, and in 2010 the government came to industry and asked them to make some changes for self-regulation. As a result of a failure to act over many years, in 2014 the government ultimately came back and said, well, we're just taking care of this ourselves. So ASIC came in and set up a whole new range of parameters for which that industry operates, and what that meant is that that environment is now that much more challenging in what's already a difficult environment for them. The Combined Industry Forum was established within months of the ASIC REM review. Within 6 months of establishment, it created a whole set of reforms that they have proactively undertaken to ensure the sustainability of our industry, which is critical for everything that we do. We're very lucky we have our own Mark Harron, Director of Connective, who's the Deputy Chair, who works very closely with Anthony Waldron, the Executive General Manager at NAB Broker, who is the Chair of the CIF. So lots of stuff happening there, but very, very positive. We have such a great working group because that helps us all. Within Connective, we made a total of 44 new appointments last year. That is a 36% increase in our overall headcount, and what's really pleasing about this for us is we have almost 1/3 of our entire business concentrated in our technology division. And this is really important because the technology is what underpins so much of the support we provide to you. So we are continuing to invest in the right places. We have 60% of our staff in broker-facing and support roles, including our broker support managers and compliance support managers. These are crucial roles that help you connect to the Connective organisation and certainly the way that we can support you directly. We also have, of course, an unrelenting commitment to supporting you and your growth in your businesses. One of the great highlights from last year was our sellout state conferences. As part of that was the Connective Excellence Awards. For those who weren't able to make it on the night, would you join me in a round of applause for our winners, including our MPA Young Guns recently announced. We're already getting asked, and I'm pleased to announce that we are going to be continuing with the State Awards in 2018. Now, these will follow the Lender Splendor Expo, and the submissions will open in April, and they'll close on June 30. Tickets will also go on sale in April, so keep an eye out for that. We'll have the same categories we had in 2017, but importantly, we'll also add a few extra ones, so stay tuned for more information in the next couple of months. So a look at the business and how we've been performing. When I say we, I really mean you. This is the work that you do. We have seen a really strong result in total settlements year on year. And the line in red is 2017. We can see continued growth, and that's really encouraging for you, and it's encouraging for our industry. So well done. I think what's really important is the context within that sits. We see the broker channel continuing to get more and more momentum. As a proportion of our total settlements in the country, the MFAA just published their April to September report for 2017, which showed a record 55.7% through broker channel. This is testament to the work that you do with your clients, so well done. A look at some of the lender data. So if on the left-hand side, you'll see in the stacked graph is 2016 and on the right is 2017. The big chunk in the middle in green, as you'd expect, are the majors, and underneath in the blue are the second tiers. They're the two predominant, hold the lion's share. The real shift was in the majors that went from 60% down to 52%. Where that's been made up has been 1% in the second tiers. We saw 2% go from 3 to 5 in the mortgage managers, but white label also grew by a 33%, which was quite significant. If we look at the majors in isolation, we actually see Westpac and NAB actually having a fairly strong mid-year surge as CBA contracted, but it didn't take long before patterns at the end of the year resumed very much what they started the year like. If we move to the second tiers, you'll see much more volatility and movement between the second tier lenders. We see St George having a fairly strong year, but some big movements. In particular, you can see AMP at the bottom, which shows their fluctuations went from 5% to 10%, which is really quite significant itself. We also see Suncorp and Macquarie having a very strong second half to the year, which was terrific for them. And at a national level, we see the total settlements by lender. What we see here are a few different clusters. You see ANZ right ahead. We then see CBA, NAB, Westpac and St George in that next tier. ING, Bankwest, Suncorp and Connective Home Loans in the next, and then Home Loans, AMP, ME Bank and Macquarie in that last little cluster. But when we take a look at the settlements in Victoria, we actually see quite a different composition. We see ANZ continuing to have their dominance, but then we have a much slower rate of declination from NAB, CBA, Westpac all the way through. This reflects the difference that a local market can have, as well as the great work that local lender BDMs have to influence these outcomes. So well done to all our local lender BDMs. Commercial is an increasingly popular part of our broker businesses. We see over the last number of years our total percentage of flows has gone from 4% to 6% to 8%. Last year that has grown to over 10% of our total flows. The reason why you see those spikes is it's a bit lumpier than resi, but that's because of the nature of the commercial deals and the size naturally, but certainly an increase in demand here. Here's some really good news on broker productivity. We have looked at our data for last year and we have seen in the graph on the left-hand side with the big red line, that is the average loan size, and that is at a 3-year high. So that's terrific because it means that you're getting more reward for the effort you're putting in. What's even better is supported by the graph on the right, which shows the runoff rates. That was up to 19.4% in 2015. We see a very strong linear drop-off that has now gone down to 16.5% late last year. So that's excellent. We also see the average life of loans growing. It has gone from 3.6 to 3.9 years, and we see the average new loan growing at 4.7 years. So these are all positive trends that work in your favour, and it's also, again, reflective of the way that customers value the work that you do. Connective continues to grow. Importantly, we're growing the right way. We're really proud of the brokers that we have within our broker community, and it's really important we get the right brokers on board. We absolutely can only spend our time and effort in certain areas, and we only have so much bandwidth. So we want to make sure we spend it on brokers that share the same passion and commitment for customers and for the industry that we do. And last year went through an enormous amount of research which helped us better understand the success factors of successful brokers. And so what we've done is to review our whole broker selection process, and we've now rolled out a new range of initiatives to help us improve the broker selection process even further. So this is good news because it means that we'll all grow together. The Net Promoter Score is a really important way for us to measure our effectiveness. it really gauges how satisfied our broker community is with the work that we do. As you know, we have no lock-in contracts, there's no handcuffs. Our brokers remain with Connective for the duration they feel they're receiving value for your money. So this is an important measure and one of the most critical that we look at. We had a net promoter score of 41.1 back in January 2016. It grew to 46.3. This is twice a year we run this. It grew to 51.8, and last year we finished off with 63.6. And that is a really great result, and we're truly grateful and we're very humbled by your support. The entire Connective crew worked very hard for you to succeed and to provide support in the ways that you would like that support. So thank you very much for your support. We're running another survey in April. We always encourage you please to take part. Share your views so we can continue to do the things that work really well, and also improve on the areas that you think we can do better on. So 2018, our focus is, and always will be, to be the business partner you can't imagine doing business without. It's our aspiration as an aggregator. We want to make sure that you always see us as someone that is critical in your success, and we endeavour every day to make sure that we improve on that and get closer to that goal. Fundamentally, this helps us focus on driving growth for your business. There are a couple of ways that we can do that directly. That is through asset finance and our Connective Home Loans, two important areas that really help drive growth, and we've seen some key data on that. We'll have 90 growth workshops run this year that'll be done by Brent Starenberg and Michael Gerner, who are the heads of the Connective Asset Finance and Connective Home Loans team. They'll provide enormous information on what these products are and how they can help you, but also importantly how they help your customers. If we take a look at the Connective Home Loans business, that has grown from a standing start in 2015. It has really surged ahead. We expect that we're going to hit the $5 billion mark in settlements in the second half of this year. To support that growth, we have appointed Roselle Payerin in New South Wales as regional manager. She started in October. We also, I'm very pleased to announce that we have Scott Unicum, who is currently the state manager for Macquarie in Queensland, moving down to Melbourne to take up the role of National Partnership Manager, who is going to work exclusively with Connective for the Smart Options relationship. He'll also be kicking off with 2 dedicated BDMs focused exclusively on supporting the East Coast for Smart Options. So more and more support's coming this way, which is terrific. In the Connective Asset Finance space, we continue to see growth there. We actually have the data that shows, this is particularly important for the first couple of years, but it remains true of brokerages, irrespective of how long you've been in operation for. When we looked at some of the data for last year, we saw the brokerages that settled under $1 million had 1 in 10 brokers writing asset finance. For those that were settling more than $1 million a month, that jumped to 4 in 10. There's a direct correlation between writing asset finance and the way that you engage with your brokers than those that don't. We've now become an asset finance aggregator in our own right as of last year, which is terrific. And there are a whole raft of options for you to get involved to any extent, whether you use a tick and flick, you do use Bolt, or you just go direct. But you can speak to our team at any time for that. So let's talk about Mercury. We've got a number of things that are underway. We are launching our Redact tool across the board in March, which will be available to all our Connective members. This is the tax file number redaction tool, which removes the TFNs out of documents. So that is free, ongoing to all our brokers. We also launched, you recall, our API for Mercury, which connects our platform with other software applications, allowing them to talk. We've seen a really good uptake. We had a strong pilot. When we launched it, we saw more and more brokers getting engaged, and we're now seeing Mercury being used in ways that's never been done before. We are also releasing new fields for the API over the course of this year, so that'll enable you to get involved in new ways. Connective Property Tools also had a very strong launch last year. That was terrific. Again, a strong uptake. It's a great way to position yourselves as experts with your brokers, with your clients. We have redesigned the whole Connective Wiki, which has been terrific. It's got a new look, a new feel. We've reviewed the content and we've made it easier to search to find relevant content. We're also launching in March what we call Mercury Foundation. So if you are a business owner and you've got new staff into your team, they'll now be required to watch a very short 5-minute video followed by a quiz, which they need to pass in order to gain access to Mercury. The reason this is important is because it allows them to hit the ground running, and they'll be able to, with a better knowledge of Mercury and what it can do, they'll add more value faster. There are of course our streams on Mercury today, so please jump on board for those. So as I get towards the end of the presentation, we hit the fun part, which is the regulatory landscape. There is no question we are in an environment of heightened scrutiny. Everything we do is being looked at incredibly closely. The Combined Industry Forum I mentioned, within 6 months of creation, crafted a series of reforms that will be implemented over the next 3 years. The Productivity Commission is the Australian government's advisory and body that looks at microeconomic policy, regulation, and a range of social and environmental issues. They released a draft report in the last fortnight on competition in the Australian finance industry, and this was in response to one of the recommendations following the Murray inquiry back in 2014. This report will look at the home loan market in part, so we'll be providing a response. Submissions are due to the government by March 20, we'll be providing that. The total report will be submitted to the government by July 1, at which stage the government will be making their decisions on which of those recommendations they'll be applying. So we'll keep you posted on that. The Royal Commission, so after a very intense period of public scrutiny, the banks agreed to move into a Banking Royal Commission. Now this actually has a fairly wide-ranging terms of reference, which means that Commissioner Haynes essentially has the freedom and latitude to explore any parts of our industry that he likes. There are 3 particular areas that we think will be focused on. The first is conduct by the banks themselves, which includes any potential criminal misconduct. There'll be cultural and governance within the banks and whether they contributed to that conduct. There'll also be adequacy of the overall regulatory and legal framework within which they operate. And given the importance that we play in this sector, there is no question that we'll be impacted to some degree. So we're staying very close to this and we'll share that as more unfolds. New privacy laws, very quickly, that was essentially a change to the Privacy Act, which requires all parties to have mandatory reports of notifiable data breaches. And the Broker Interview Guide is an interview guide that was established by the Big Four banks, and they're still working on that. It hasn't been finalised. It's an interview guide that they expect all brokers to complete and have their customers acknowledge before they submit a home loan application. We expect to find out more of this in March, and we'll share that as more comes to light. It's important to note that we don't expect you to stay across all of this. There's a huge amount of information, and we'll make sure that we provide that support and constant communication to keep you up to date. We've added more compliance support managers to help you with your obligations. We're making changes where appropriate in Mercury to support you technologically. Outside, some of you have already engaged with our compliance booth. We have a wonderful compliance team here to support you. Some of those slots were pre-booked, but I'm sure there's some slots available today, so please take advantage of that. And of course, we'll communicate as much as we can throughout the year, and education remains critical. So with that, I'm pleased to launch the Connective Learning and Education Program for 2018. The themes for this year is commitment, resilience, integrity, growth and innovation, all the things that we think are crucial to your businesses. We will have all the same normal fantastic events that we run. There'll be a couple of new things this year as well. Some of the key ones will be more Lender Splendor Expos. They were really well received last year, which is terrific. We want to encourage more peer-to-peer learning. We received more requests for that. The state awards I've covered. Asset and commercial will form part of our PD days moving forward, which is fantastic. And Connective Empower, we're really proud of, as that's our program to support females in our industry. My last slide, which I'll finish up with, is perhaps the most fun of all, and that is to confirm we are holding a national conference this year. It will be held in the Gold Coast on the 23rd to 25th of October. This will be fantastic. I can tell you it's not a marketing gimmick, but 100% places will sell out. They are limited. So when you see the communications and you're serious about going, jump on board. It'll be a terrific venue and a great getaway in a great location. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings an end to my presentation. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day, and more importantly, I wish you a very successful and happy 2018. Thank you.